Today I want to take a minute and show you the 1954 Packard here. This is a Panama. Full name is actually a 1954 Clipper Super Panama. This is one of the junior models from Packard that year. It is a two-door hardtop. You can see here there's no pillar here between the windows and the doors, so similar to a convertible body style, except with a hardtop. This particular model was found kind of out in the middle of nowhere in Washington. Gentleman had it in his barn. He had it there for about 15 years or so. He had done paint work on it and body work about 15 years ago and then just kind of let it sit. Not original color. This should be a Polaris blue on the bottom, which is more of like a baby blue. And a Packard ivory on the top, which should be more of kind of a cream color. So instead he did white on the top and kind of a metallic blue on the bottom, and it looks okay. Paint wise, it's not amazing. He did a single stage paint, so it's can't really buff it, unfortunately, but there's a lot of little dust nibs and things like that are around. But when it's cleaned up, it looks presentable. Eventually I may end up repainting it back into factory colors, but that's quite the project to do that. Chrome work on this car is okay. Obviously the front bumper is not in amazing condition here. A lot of dents and dings, some tears from bumper jacks and such in the past. So I've been searching for a replacement bumper. Otherwise I'll have to take this one off and get it sent in to be rebuilt and re-chromed. The grill it's okay. There's some pitting down here, obviously, some scratching and things. This isn't cleaned up and waxed right now, so it would typically look a little bit better. The emblem, I redid that myself. It was completely destroyed. It's okay. I think if I were to do it again, I'd probably end up doing gold leaf instead of gold paint, but it's not bad. The Clipper Supers from 1954 had this little trim piece down here on the corners, on both sides. It's kind of unique to that model. And these cleaned up all right. Ended up looking okay. Wheels. The Clippers on 54 had this particular design. Usually the hexagon in the middle is red. Clippers did it backwards, so they did a black hexagon to kind of differentiate it from the more senior models. For tires, I'm running Diamondback tires. These are 225 75/15s, 3¼ inch white walls, I believe, and they've been good. They seem to run really well, track fine, very minimal wear, if anything. Probably have a couple thousand miles or so on them, if that. These are not the original design on the tread. The original is more of kind of a pizza cutter look, but these are close enough. Diamondback, I believe, does have the correct tread pattern on different models here now. Going to the back, the rear bumper is a replacement that I found. My original one was pretty bad. It had no chrome left on the bottom. This one's not amazing. Obviously you can see there's lots of blemishes in the chrome, but it's far better than the one that was on here. Good enough. And when it's cleaned up and polished, it looks good. But eventually this could use a re-chrome as well. Rear trunk lid. Again, I redid this emblem here on the back as well. Again, gold leaf. Probably would have looked a little bit better, but the paint is passable. Clipper Super. That's the only place on the car where it actually says Packard, except for the hubcaps. Those do say Packard as well. Clippers from the 1954 year had these particular taillights. These are known as the sore thumb, for obvious reasons, but very unique, very pretty. The lines on this car, if you look at the stainless strip running right down the side, nice and clean. Now the interior is a work in progress right now. When I got the car, it was bad. There was a lot of rust up here on the windshield header. It had gotten down inside, ended up rusting out the entire header section inside here, completely gone, just ripped up to shreds. Mice had been living in here for many years. They were up inside the headliner and just ruined the whole thing. There was rust in the floor pans as well, quite a bit. Door cards were shot, seats were meh, but it was in pretty rough shape. So the first thing I did was I stripped the interior bare. Headliner came out. I ended up having to cut out the whole windshield header section here and replaced it with a donor from another car. That was a lot of work. Fixed all the rust in the floor pans, excuse me, as well, and got that all taken care of. Had to replace the windshield. The original one was cracked all over the place. Unfortunately, this replacement one was already cracked when I put it in, and the cracks got a little worse on insertion. But these are hard windshields to find. The two-door models, the hardtops and convertibles, actually have a shorter windshield than the four doors and two-door coupes. So they're a little tougher to find. This one's working okay for me right now. Eventually I'll end up replacing it. I do have a spare that I can use, but it's not a fun job, so I'm gonna let this one go as long as possible. So when I did all the work on the inside here, I had SMS out of Oregon make me a new headliner, and I installed that myself, and it came out decently. There's a couple little folds here and there. Most of those disappear on a warmer day when things kind of stretch out, but overall not terrible. Came out nice. While I was at it, I went ahead and did some sound deadener on the roof, so no rattling at all. Did the same thing on the floor, sound deadener from front to back. Also did some on the doors as well. So not bad. Carpet's not original, but this is what came with the car. It's okay. It's not bad. Probably leave that alone for now. Seats are not in great shape. The lower of the rear is probably the best of the bunch right now, but you can see the rear seat on the back is just totally thrashed. That's next on the list, is gathering the materials for this, and probably gonna have to turn that over to an upholsterer. Same thing on the front seats here. These are just kind of worn out. Dash is original paint still. It's not in the best of conditions, and I've got some other work to do. You can see the steering column's totally scratched up, flaking off. Got kind of the same thing happening on some of the other trim pieces out here on the doors. So hopefully this winter, probably gonna end up pulling all the trim on the inside, maybe even the dash as well, and repainting everything into matched color. The gauge cluster, I rebuilt this last year. New chrome, new paint. Got these gauges back to a ruby red color. I did get some video of that, so I might throw some of that together and put that on there. But when I got the car, these were all faded out, and they had faded to brown. And 54, they had, some of the cars came with ruby red gauges, which was kind of rare. And I did find some evidence that this one had red on it. These gauges over here on the fuel and temperature had some hidden parts that were still ruby, so I used that to color match, and came out okay. Back seat, plenty of room back here. For being a two-door model, it's actually surprisingly big in the back. Lots of space, plenty of headroom as well. It's really not terrible back here. While I'm back here, I'll show you some of the door cards. I rebuilt these over the winter time. I only had one good one left for one of the fronts, and I used that as a pattern, and I was able to scrape together enough of a pattern on the back in order to do the two rear cards. So it ended up using some vinyl from SMS. The ivory vinyl here is correct color, matches the headliner and such as it's supposed to. Now originally these came heat embossed. SMS is the only place that does that anymore, but their lead times are pretty rough. So I ended up marking everything out to the correct spacing and had a local upholsterer sew the pleats on for me. Same thing down here. You know, the blue is maybe not original, but close enough for that. But they came out pretty good. You know, I got some 1/4-inch scrim foam behind them, so some nice padding here. Was able to clean up the original hardware for the windows and such. You know, this little insert unfortunately is green. That's the only ones I could find. No, couldn't find any blue ones. Still need to finish putting on this side here on the other one, but you know, got the armrest all finished up and such. Looks pretty good. The main doors, same thing. Those came out rather nice. Eventually I'm going to have to redo all the weather stripping. It's all just garbage. There's hardly any of it left. Most of it's rock hard. A really poor painting job on the inside of the door jambs here from the previous owner. This is the original color. You can see poking through kind of that baby blue. He just spray bombed this, no prep. It's just falling apart. So I'll probably end up cleaning that up for now and painting it to match the color on the outside, the metallic. Just because I'm not sure I want to go through the work of repainting this thing all the way back to factory colors. I had to strip the car down to nothing in order to do that. So probably end up just temporarily spraying that for now. Maybe eventually I'll redo the whole car. So looking at the engine bay here now, 1954 clippers. This one came with a straight 8 327 cubic inch. This one has mechanical lifters and instead of hydraulic, which I prefer. It's a little easier, I think, to work with those. They don't tend to collapse. They take more adjustment, obviously, to get things to quiet down, which I do need to do, but runs okay. I have not done anything to the engine, you know, as far as cleaning things up. This is how it came to me. It was ugly, rough. Wasn't really running when I got it, so we ended up redoing most everything, starting with the fuel system. Got a new fuel tank back here. I left the original hard line going from the rear all the way to the front, but replaced the flexible line down there, as well as rebuilt the fuel pump. Got a new line coming up here to the carb. These originally came with ceramic filters. Mine was shot, so I went ahead and found a solution for a paper filter, and it works great. So I'll see if I can find the part number on that and put it up. But rebuilt the carb as well, and that's been doing okay. It looks like I might have a little bit of a leak here, so I'll have to address that. But carb runs well. I also got a replacement heat shield. Mine was missing, so I don't have any issues ever with any sort of vapor lock or anything like that. Car has never had any of those problems. Cooling system, the radiator had to get cleaned out. There was a bit of a leak, so that got rebuilt. Did not have to recore, thankfully. Just running the stock fan, stock pulleys, all that kind of stuff. No overheating problems right now. Have not had to do anything with the water pump. That is still original. Heater box back there. Heater core is fine. My heater valve, unfortunately, is not working well, so I don't have any heat at the moment, but no leaks. Let's see. So we got the distributor down here on the side. This is a Delco Remy distributor. All the electronics in here are Delco. That's been cleaned up. All new ignition parts from front to back. Next on the list this winter, I need to rebuild the starter. It's been giving me fits. I took the cover off to take a look at it, and I've got some issues. So that's coming out this winter. Probably going to end up scraping the engine block down, cleaning everything up, doing a little paint job there. Just to make it look nicer. Probably have to take the manifolds off as well in order to get those cleaned up. So it'll be some work, but it'll be nice. Not that long ago, a few months, I cleaned up the hood and installed this hood pad. Originally from the factory, the hood pads were yellow fiberglass, which I could have done, but yeah, I think the gray and black fiberglass just looks a little bit more pleasing to the eye. All this other work inside here, this has all been cleaned up. Everything in here is completely rusted and covered in dirt and grime. So I've been pulling off parts as I can and cleaning things up, but need to do the engine next and a few other spots. This is the original color right back here. It's kind of faded. I cleaned it up some, but I'm going to leave that as a guide. And so if I ever end up repainting this thing, I'm going to kind of match it to that. So let's get this thing started up. And here it is at typical idle speed. You can see very smooth on the engine, no movement. Very minor. There's a little bit of valve noise. Like I said, I haven't really adjusted those yet, so I need to get in there and do that while the engine's running. There is a nice little thump coming from the vacuum pump down there. It's a dual fuel and vacuum pump. I'm not sure what that's about. Probably gonna end up pulling that off and rebuilding it and see if that solves the problem. Get this closed. So from the outside, you don't hear a whole lot. A little bit of that valve action. I forgot to mention the exhaust system has been completely replaced. It's all new. But as you can tell, there's no missing. Everything's smooth, idle. This car has a Ultramatic transmission. It's Packard's automatic transmission that they developed. It's just a 2-speed. So the first gear is with the torque converter, and then when the torque converter locks up, you're in second gear. It's okay. I've got some issues on mine. It's definitely not the peppiest thing in the world, but it makes for a good cruiser. I do have some leaks that I need to address on the transmission and really everything else. Engine leaks from the front and the rear. Just a small drip. Power steering is leaking from 2 places, so that's on the list to rebuild this winter as well. And that's it. This is again 1954 Packard Clipper Super Panama. Be doing a lot more work to this car, kind of doing a rolling restoration and hopefully getting it as close to original as I possibly can. So hopefully there's more videos to come if I get the motivation and the time to do it.